Right. I think you're doing the questionnaire, are you? Yeah, we'll carry on in a bit, okay. Right, just while you're still scribbling away, you can fill it in as we go along. Right, just like to welcome you back after lunch. So I hope you all had a nice lunch and didn't eat too much like I did. Never mind, that's another story. Right, what I'd like to do now, we're going to do a more interactive session, okay. But before that, I'd like to introduce Lucy Irwin, the Ascend Programme Lead at Cheshire and Merseyside Cancer Alliance. Lucy is Senior Project Manager who's been instrumental in shaping the future of the cancer workforce through the Aspirant Cancer Career and Education Development Programme called Ascend. And I think you'll increasingly hear the word Ascend. Some of you might have already heard it, some might not, but Lucy's going to give us an overview of what that means and what that might mean potentially for your roles in the future, okay? And then we'll do a bit more of an interactive session as well.
Thanks, Sandra. Oh, let's see. Oh, is it doing it on its own? Thank you. Hope everyone had a nice lunch. Shout out to Katie, before I forget, for organising today and making sure that we're all fed and watered and making sure everything runs smoothly. So thank you, Katie. My name's Lucy, thanks for the introduction, Sandra, and it's just so lovely to see everyone here today in real life, in person, and not on a screen. Hopefully you're getting loads out of it, and you will continue to this afternoon. We'll have some time for discussions, which is going to be great. As Sandra mentioned, I'm here to talk to you about the Ascend framework. Now, you may or may not have heard of this framework. It stands, we love an acronym, don't we? It stands for the Aspirant Cancer Career and Development Programme, okay? And it's something that's happening nationally, but we are focusing some of our efforts locally as well. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the Ascend framework is and what that means specifically for you in your role as an MDT coordinator. So let's see if this works. So a little bit about the Ascend framework, and I've only got a very short slot today, so I'm not going to overload you with lots and lots of information. So I'm just going to give you sort of the highlights. So the actual programme was created and launched by NHS England back in January 2023. So it's been around a little while, and it's aimed at non-medical staff. So this has been created for clinical staff. It's been created for all levels of practice. So within the framework, they haven't mapped this to Agenda for Change. It's been mapped out for 7 levels of practice, from the supportive and assistive level through to the pre-registered, the registration, the enhanced, advanced and consultant nurse-led level as well. So the group that we've got here today, you would fall within the assistive and supportive level of practice, okay. It provides staff with a framework which is broken down into capabilities in practice. So if you see CIPs, that's what that means. So basically it's competencies, it's capabilities that you achieve in your day-to-day practice and through your education and training and development as well. So it encourages staff to record their CIPs, so those capabilities, and to think about their career development, to think about which areas they'd like to develop in, maybe where their expertise might be lacking slightly, where their strengths are as well. So it's to celebrate that, take a little bit of time to think about that, and reflect on areas of development for the future. So it's something, as I said, we are implementing locally in Cheshire and Merseyside, but this is a national initiative. So we've been asked as an alliance to focus on this and to roll out the implementation of Ascend in Cheshire and Merseyside and beyond over the next 12 months. So this is something that you're going to hear more and more about, okay? Okay, so what I'm going to focus on today is what this means for you. There's lots of ways that you can find out more about Ascend. We're currently in the process of really going out and talking to stakeholders like yourselves, different staff groups, and talking about what it means for you. We've got the fantastic Cancer Academy, which is our online platform that hosts all of our education and training locally. The team are here today. Give us a wave if you haven't already said hello to them. They've got a table outside, and you have all got a postcard on your table with a QR code to access that. So it's worth registering and signing up to that to get all of our upcoming educational offers. If you register, you'll actually get signed up automatically to the monthly e-bulletin that they send out with some really interesting information about what's coming up that might be relevant for you in your role, okay? So definitely check out the Cancer Academy. We've got a section within that is all about Ascend, and we're updating it all the time. We've got really simplified information, resources that will support you with your understanding of Ascend, and also to understand what's out there that you can access for you in your role as well. Following today's event, you're going to receive instructions on how you can register with Greater Manchester's e-portfolio. So this is an e-portfolio that's been created by Greater Manchester, and we've purchased licences for the whole of Cheshire and Merseyside. It's a fantastic online platform that you can go on, again, register, and it's all been mapped to Ascend and the framework, and all of those capabilities that I mentioned earlier have been mapped to some of the learning that's already available for you in your role. So what we're planning to do over the next 12 months is any future education offerings, any webinars, any courses that we're involved in and helping to support to create, we will make sure that they're mapped to the Ascend framework and the capabilities that are met by achieving those educational offerings will be available on the e-portfolio, so that you can go on, you can select from a learner library that you've been, for example, today you've come here, you'd be able to select that you've been here, and it would automatically tick off all of the capabilities that you've met attending today. So what were the learning objectives? What have you got out of today? And then there's a little space where, if you wanted to, you could reflect on today and think, what have you taken away from today? What are the main areas that you've learned about? Is there anything that's really striking that's going to support you moving forward in your role that you've learned about today? So when you're logging your capabilities in practice on the portfolio moving forward, think about including things like courses that you might have been able to attend. You might have a chance to access webinars through your trusts, through the Cancer Alliance. Think about e-learning that maybe you're completing, or on-the-job practices that you're maybe if you have to cover a different MDT, but you need to do a bit of prep because you're not used to that tumour site, or maybe you come into contact with a really unusual patient that a patient journey that you haven't been in contact with before, and you think, actually, this is really outside of my realm of usual business day to day, then you can reflect that and you can log it, and it's a way of logging all of that learning and your development that can then travel with you through your career and give you a bit of an opportunity to just sit back occasionally and think about whether this is part of your appraisal, whether it's part of your one-to-one conversations with your line managers. I know that I meet all of these capabilities. I've been tracking it. I've been logging it as I go. Actually, have a moment and reflect. There's other capabilities for the supportive and assistive workforce that are listed here within this framework that I don't currently meet. Should I be meeting them? Is it that there's a gap in my training? Is it that I haven't had access to that type of training? So really have those really thorough discussions with your line manager, with your teammates, about your career, about where you're at in your role, and about maybe where you want to be, whether or not you want to expand, move sideways, move further up in your career ladder, whatever that looks like for you. So it's a brilliant tool to help enable you to do that. As an example, what we've done today is, I'm going to read this out because I don't know it off the top of my head. We've actually looked at the session that Sandra's about to do with you, the interactive session. We've looked at which capabilities maybe that will meet to start you off, if you like, as that's going to be one of the first things that we can say 100% you've all met today. So I'm going to read it out. So to work effectively as part of a team, using their professional knowledge and skills and drawing on those of their colleagues. So straight away, that's going to be a capability that you meet in the next hour with Sandra. And what we do plan to do after today is send the capabilities that have been met by all of the sessions that we've completed over to the e-portfolio, so that when you get access, you can select on there that you've attended today, and it will do that mapping piece for you. So once you begin to log your capabilities, you can start to think about areas that you might want to develop in. As I said, any areas that maybe you think, we haven't got anything for that. How am I supposed to upskill if I haven't got access to anything in that area? It will really give you a platform and a basis to have those conversations with your line manager and your team. And then, we are also working with cancer managers in trusts and lead nurses and having these conversations so that we can help to support maybe where some of those gaps are. And as I said again, this is something that you continue to work on throughout your career. This is something we're doing locally, but it's happening nationally as well. And I think 10 out of the 20 Cancer Alliances have purchased access to this e-portfolio, so that if you did happen to move around, or if you went to another area or region, you can carry that with you. So your learning will move with you, which is fantastic as well. I'm just going to finish up by sharing some useful links and information with you. So, and we are going to circulate these slides. And as I said, I am going to email you directly with the information about the portfolio so that you know exactly how to sign up with a really clear onboarding pack, which is only a couple of pages long, so it's not reams and reams of information for you to read through. But we are going to, so the NHS England Ascend framework is accessible if you scan that QR code. Please don't be put off if you open it. I'm not going to lie to you, it's a huge, huge framework. As I said, it's for all of the different 7 levels of practice, so it's not all relevant for you. You would be looking at the supportive and assistive level. But you can have a look if you would like to at the whole framework using that QR code. We've got the Cancer Academy link on there, and again, the postcards are on the table, so there's a QR code for that as well. We've got something called the Learning Hub, which has been created by NHS England, and they've got a specific section within that for supportive and assistive, so for your roles. If you haven't checked that out, it's really worth a look. There's some really great resources that have been created nationally and recommended via Ascend. So it's worth checking that out. And again, we'll send these, so if you haven't got a chance to write this down, you will get these by email. And then just a little mention, so we've got a small team working on Ascend. So if you do go away after today, you might not have ever even heard of Ascend. So if you do go away today and start to hear a little bit more, or think, actually, what Lucy said that day, actually, that could be really helpful, I'd like to know a bit more, please get in touch. So there's myself, there's Deb Spearing in the team, and there's Katie as well. So make a note of our email addresses. We will be sharing those. Happy to answer any questions. I'm around during the break while I'm here for the rest of the day. So if you have got anything specific you want to ask me today, or if you'd like to wait and drop me an email, happy to be contacted by anyone. So yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Sandra. Okay.
Right, now then, this is your time for you to have a chance to talk to each other a bit more in depth, and it's a bit of a free flow. So for the first sort of 5-10 minutes, just on the tables that you're on now, I'd like you to consider some of the challenges perhaps in your roles, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them back to the front of the room, and we're going to look at probably the top 4 or 5 maybe. And it might be, if there's a consistent theme, there's quite a few people want to look at. Oh, sorry. Can you not hear? Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands. So basically, I'd like you to spend about 5-10 minutes just talking about some of the issues that might be common to your roles on the table, and then we're going to feed them back to the main. I'm going to put it on the flip chart, and we can choose some of the issues that you'd like to spend a bit longer to look at. Now, if there's 2 or 3 common themes, I'm going to split the tables. Does that make sense? So I didn't want to write a list and say, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because actually you're the ones that know your roles inside out. I don't know what you do day to day. Is that okay? So I didn't want to be specific, but I think it's something. If there's an issue you think it would be useful to discuss with your colleagues, please, and I know there have been some interesting conversations, haven't there, about the pathway and so Somerset. So it may be something like that's triggered something you'd like to look at a bit more in depth. So, but that's me putting words in your mouth, so I'm trying not to. Okay, so about 5-10 minutes. If there's only a couple of you on the table and you want to join on the table, feel free, okay? And then we'll come back. I'll give you about 5 minutes just to come up with some themes that you might like to discuss further. Right, everybody. This might go wrong, but hopefully it'll pull together some ideas. So hopefully you've had a chance to discuss perhaps some of the challenges that are common to you on the table in your roles. So would anybody, I'm going to just go table to table. Sorry, you see I've caught your eye at the back there. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me? Yeah, I've never been accused of having a quiet voice.
Mic.
No.
Are you sure?
Right. So you can hear me, can't you? Yeah. I didn't think so. That you'd have a problem. Right, ladies. Sorry, gentlemen as well. What are some of the common issues, perhaps? Can I just say as well, please keep this as confidential as you can. So if you need to anonymise this situation, I trust you to anonymise it. Does that make sense? It's not about problem blaming or anything like that. It's about how we can perhaps work forward some positive solutions. So it's not so bear that in mind. So, right, ladies, I can't spell, by the way. So what are some of the issues that came up on your table?
We only managed to get down 2, but they kind of link together. So the first one that we mentioned was the changes to CWT guidance, and how that information is disseminated out to the teams, and how the changes affect the patient's pathways, and kind of examples of how that guidance is going to affect a pathway. And then the other one that goes along with it is the clinical teams versus the CWT guidance, because you do tend to have some, awkward conversations of where the clinician won't agree.
So you have to forgive me, I'm a cancer nurse. So basically, this is your world, you talk it. So clinical teams and what?
Kind of versus what the guidance would say. So at points where we would say that the guidance tells us to step that patient down from tracking, but a clinical staff member may not agree with that, and how that information is disseminated to the clinical teams and their involvement in it.
Okay, I'll trust you on that one. You're talking way above my head here, but yeah, I'll trust you. Right, thank you. Take it at the back. It might be you've got the same themes, it might be something different. Is there anything different?
I'm just talking on behalf of Clatterbridge. We don't use Somerset for tracking, so I don't use it at all. We get spreadsheets sent to us, but as far as Somerset's concerned, we use it for MDTs and it works perfectly.
Okay, right.
There's no problem.
It doesn't have to be about Somerset, okay?
Okay.
It can be a challenge that's something else.
Yeah. For me, it's the challenges of I have to put everything on as routine. Nothing will go on as a 2-week wait because we don't use it in that way.
Okay, so is that unique to your system?
It's unique to Clatterbridge, whereas we are the only trust who don't use it for tracking.
Okay, it might well be that
No.
So are you all Clatterbridge staff?
No, it's just me, Clatterbridge. These are Luft.
Okay, right, okay, so it might be, were there any other challenges that because it doesn't have to be about Somerset or data, it could be anything, is there any other challenges? Go on,
we wanted to just say about e-import, sometimes it's not accurate or it's incomplete, like when you, the pathologies, when they get put in, not all of it's going in, just some of it, and you still have to change the trust and stuff like that.
You can tell that's blank. Sorry, so explain that to me in small words. So e-import.
E-import, yeah, there's bits missing.
Thank you.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's writing bits missing.
Sorry, that's yeah. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to say the next one?
Were there any other issues that came up?
Yeah, I didn't even know people do e-import because we don't use it that way.
Okay.
So that's the difference for me.
The other thing we've got is FDS being sometimes it's out of your control.
What's FDS mean?
Abbreviations, what's
Faster
the
diagnosis.
Sorry?
Faster diagnosis.
Faster diagnosis. Faster diagnosis.
Yeah, we're having meetings every week now to try and get the figures up. But sometimes it's like out of our hands if the letters haven't been typed or, the patient hasn't been informed by the clinical teams. There's nothing we can do about it.
Faster diagnosis out of your control.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you. Right, this table here, some of the issues. It might be the same as they are, that's fine, but they might be different ones.
We just said about lack of communication between clinicians and ourselves sometimes. I work in breast, but ours are okay, but I know that other people that I work with, different tumour sites, they struggle getting that communication from the clinicians to know exactly what's going on and when it's happening. And
So between MDT coordinators and clinicians.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Can I just add on to that? The site I work on, the CNS team, they're really good updating SCR in the contacts. So when you're covering for other sites, they're not. So is there, I don't know, any promotion, to the clinical teams for them to be updating SCR a little bit more?
So what I'm hearing there is clinicians not updating. That's good.
Yeah. Especially.
Sorry, some do. So some do have access. They do have access to it, but yours don't use that some do.
Yes, yes, some do within our trust,
Some
and
do and some don't. So I'm just going to put clinicians not updating.
yes. And it just stops, emails going backwards and forwards if they're using the tool that we've got on SCR to update information, the CNSs.
More CNSs than
Yeah.
CNSs.
Yeah.
Yeah, CNSs. Okay. So how do you get CNSs more involved in actually updating the data that they should be putting in that's unique probably to their bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, thank you. This table. This might be some of the same things, it might be different.
Anyone?
So one of ours is no management's understanding and support of the role.
No,
Sorry.
No. And do you know what? You could say that about lots of things.
Yeah.
The role specifically, right? So no management understanding, and you can have a look at this on that understanding of the MDT role.
Yeah, and the targets and the tracking and the system. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm hearing there that's more a organisational issue, credibility issue, and then understanding what you do.
Yeah.
And understanding why. I'm just like, what you were saying, Paul, about how important this data is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're speaking to them that they might not understand all the, but I understand that data is so important to improve patient care and keep these patients in focus, and then care is not provided that's needed if we haven't got the data. So
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
I find myself going to our lead clinician for a lot of information, and you can see it on her face like, oh, Zoe, what you want? But there's no one else that can answer a lot of the questions, and it'd be nice to take the pressure off her as well, rather than us keep going to her, because I know some trusts have, they'll have like an ops manager or a nurse that can help them out and stuff, whereas literally we are on our own. The other thing is time pressures of not understanding.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in because that's more. So I'm going to put that into one group if that's okay.
Yeah.
Time pressures, because that's all linked into that role.
Yeah.
So basically, talking about the pressures and challenges of being an MDT coordinator, particularly perhaps if people don't understand what you do as well. Because if they don't understand what you do, they're not going to understand what you actually need time
Yeah.
to do things. If that makes sense.
But the other one was the workload. So a prime example was, even though we're a coordinator and that's our title, it's to create another MDT. Let's give it to the coordinator, and it's like, we're covering non-malignant MDTs, and in my head, shouldn't you have a non-malignant coordinator for that? Why is a cancer coordinator covering? It's different terminology. I come from a cancer background, and when I'm sitting a non-cancer MDT, I've spoken to like Tammy, who covers the heme, and she said to me, Zoe, it's such an easy MDT because it's non-cancer, but you'll struggle because you're used to doing cancer, and it's a minefield. But the service manager thinks because you've created an MDT, we can just cover it, and that's not the case.
And that goes back to not understanding what you do.
Yeah, and sorry, I've got a few. Well, we've got a few. It's stress and sickness. So, obviously, paediatrics is not an easy role to do. So you're documenting babies' cancers and stuff. And we have a lot of sickness within our team, and even trying to fulfill the post, before Nikki come on board, it took us basically 1.5 years to get someone else in the role. And then you're taking someone, no offence, who's not come from an MDT background, so you're training them up. By the time you've trained them up, they get to know the role, and they're like, I'm not doing this, it's too stressful, and they'll go off sick, and then they'll leave, and you're back to square one. So it's looking about when, I know, don't leave me, but it's about when you're interviewing, making them aware, is this before, I don't know how you say, but making them aware of the role, or even, it's building resilience.
Because it's resilience as well, so because it's really interesting, because also it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, so you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that the jobs I've done, you usually know within the first month you want that job or not. So in my head, you would stay in a job a month and go, I'm sorry, this isn't for me, we have to stay a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it looks bad on your CV and you don't. But, well, that's just the way I think. But you know what I'm saying to you, but I suppose it's about, I mean, going back to the youngsters, you're talking about the, you know, how do people know what jobs actually look like?
Yeah.
And is there a way of a road? I mean, so I'm problem solving now, but yeah, so we want you to look at that, that might sound really
Yeah.
important. Is there anything else on that table?
No.
I'm happy that you've covered
Yeah.
everything.
Thank you.
Okay, how's it going?
So,
Yeah, it's links to a lot of what has been said before. We're trying to set up the 28-day pathway at the moment in our trust so that patients are getting diagnosed within 28 days, and there's a lot of conversations going on with clinical teams across all the sites, but they don't seem to understand the significance of why we're trying to put this in. Yeah.
Right, so the clinicians don't understand how they're trying to put that in place, and you understand that they don't.
We understand, we try and have these conversations with them, and they can't seem to understand the point of trying to record this data.
So they're not recording it for you, they're expecting you to.
They're not recording it for us, and they're almost not providing a lot of the data that we need
Right.
or anything.
So I'm going to put 28-day waiting times,
Yeah.
and I'm going to put a clinician's understanding or willingness, and it's interesting to have this conversation
Yeah.
with that. A lot of this is culture change,
Hmm.
and so it's how you take people with you. Maybe if you have power or not, as the case may be. You see what I'm saying to you? So how do you shift a culture if you might not necessarily be a practice manager or you with me? So there is that, isn't there? You've got the knowledge, but how do you take others with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about? You know,
definitely.
You know how important it is, but either they don't want to know, or it's easy just to tell you to do it, or what, there's loads
Yeah.
of issues there. Right, okay. Now, I mean, we could be here all day, right? Because there's lots of different issues here. So, help me choose 4 that you'd like to talk about, right? Let's have a look at them. So, I think there's something here around how you are keeping your resilience as a team and how you influence others. Because that goes into influence, resilience as a team. Do you agree with me? Yeah? Resilience as a
I
team.
think that depends on what trust you work for them.
Yeah.
Because within Clatterbridge, haematology are absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
They are brilliant. So I've got different complaints with COSD and everything else.
Yeah.
We get given that. For lymphoma, myeloma is leukemia is different.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is theme this.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of this, and this is Matt just wrong. For me, this is about you influencing and changing practice. Do you agree? Is that summarising? Yeah.
To add in on that, in Luft, cancer services is a support service.
Yeah.
So we support, we did something like 12 or 13 tumour sites. So what the team touched on here before about not being able to implement change, not being able to implement change is, as a support service, our role is to escalate these patients through their past pathways and try and get diagnostics brought forward, try and get treatments brought forward, and try and work with the clinical teams to do that. And our teams are spread out and sit within the care groups. And sometimes what's really difficult is them understanding that our team's roles are to escalate, but that we don't have the function to make the change. It has to come from within the tumour sites. They're the ones who have the power to change clinics, theatres, diagnostics, and we don't.
So what I'm hearing is, how do you change things when it's not saying it's your responsibility, but how do you support a change when it's not necessarily you that needs to change? Is that right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing from you, you know what you're doing, you're doing your roles, but how do you influence? Okay? So I'm actually going to put that one as influence. Does that make sense? So how are you in? Does that work?
Can I just ask as well, the thing is, when does your band stop? When does your role stop as a 4? Because a lot of it, you could see you could go into a band 5, maybe.
When does your band 4 as an MDT coordinator cut off? Because I feel like I'm a hamster on a wheel constantly going.
Absolutely. And do you know what? It's really interesting, this boundary setting. So I'm going to put influencing and boundary setting together. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
because I feel terrible saying no, because at the end in the back of my head, I'm thinking of the patient, I'm thinking of the baby. So I'm like, I want to do it, but then I'm getting stressed out because I have no support.
I'm going to put influencing and boundary setting as perhaps one table. And that covers working from that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Just trying to theme. So one table, one, two tables is going to be looking at influencing boundary setting.
Okay.
You've all got challenging roles. You know those roles inside out. Right? You know what needs to happen 28 day. But how do you influence people? And there is an element of responsibility for you as well. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't just say, oh, it's not my job. So, but what I'm trying to get to is what would help you shift that? Have a conversation around what might that look like. So that's one, okay? And then let's have a look at the others. So we've got all. Okay, right, let's just do another one. Actually, it might be really useful. There's something around working with the Somerset team while they're here as well. So there are some issues that you might want to do working with Somerset while they're here, while we've got the executive teams. Is that okay? So we'll do a fifth sort of split. Is that all right? Because this lack of communication is about influencing as well. Okay, right. The input. Right, so, right, I'm going to do an executive decision, right? So, on this side of the room, one or two tables will look at influencing, how you, like 28, what will it take to move stuff forward, okay? And then this side of the room will be doing more around Somerset, talking around Somerset changes, things like that. Is that fair enough? So, you choose.
Right. And move around.
And move around. Joe, could you just put that slide up for me, please? Oh, is it up? Yeah. Right, so these are just some of the categories you might want to consider. What's the problem you're trying to solve? Who's experienced the problem? Typical experiences. Who's the stakeholders, etc. You can read it. Okay? And it might be really good if you have 1 or 2 actions to take forward. And we've got about 10 minutes, not long, I know, but. Right, everybody. I know that's probably not been long enough, but we've just got 10 minutes to take a little bit of feedback. Okay? No, I'm going to speak to you about it, unless you want to carry on for more. But yeah, no, it's just to summarise. This is just to set the scene and get you thinking about. Are there some ways that perhaps you can influence, or not, as the case may be? Who are the key stakeholders? Who do you need to influence? How would you do it? That sort of thing. So I'm not want you to. We're not going to solve all the problems today, but are there things? And I will ask you towards the end. One of the questions I do want to ask you at the end is: are there some of the things you feel that you can take away from today and you can influence? Okay. So just going to put that there. Anyway. Let's do a quick feedback. Just a quick summary of what you've been discussing, if you don't mind. Just a quick.
No, I don't mind.
Quick overview.
So what we discussed with the influence and banding and reset, so we looked at the understanding of the MDT role, and something we thought would really help was clear roles and responsibilities of the MDT coordinator, and ensuring that everyone is aware of these so that staff are not asked to do duties that aren't within their remit.
Okay, and it's interesting that because so there's something about, it's very American, sorry about that, it's called the elevator pitch. So you have to be able to describe your role in 30 seconds. So if you say somebody asks you to do something that's not in your role, you've got to be able to say to them, I'm really sorry, but this is what I do. In a very polite way, yeah? Not... Yes, so that's what I'm saying to you. So you'll say, I'm really sorry, that's not something I can help you with because this is what I do. That does 2 things. One, it boundaries, but also it tells them what they can ask you to do in the future, the correct thing. Yeah? So I say this to all staff groups. You need to be able to articulate quickly what you do. So you just politely say, write it down. This is why I'm saying to you, you need to have it on the tip of your tongue. Somebody asks you to do something that you don't know it's not in your role. You'll say, I'm really sorry. I'm an MDT coordinator, and that means that I do X, Y, and Z, and I can help you with that, right? However, that's so-and-so's responsibility. So you're signposting. Without being rude, you're not insulting anybody. Really sorry. I'm an MDT coordinator. This is what I can do. So you're not saying no. But you tell them what you can do, but you tell them who to go to. Bye. Sorry.
That was,
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, that's all I was going to say, because we have that, because we've merged now. So we're having to put our boundaries a little bit more in place, but we're starting to say, well, we don't particularly do that. However, I've forwarded this on to such and such, and they should be able to sort that for you.
I'm a clinician asking you to do something. You say, I don't particularly do that. In my head, oh yeah, they might be able to do it if I ask them nicely. Sorry, it's true. So what I'm saying to you, you have to be quite clear what you do and what you don't do, but who can help them with it. Yeah? Sorry, yeah, this table? This one? Right then, just a quick, does that help? Sorry, does that, just thinking about being a bit more, oh bless her, go on.
We were just saying with the sort of lack of communication between the MDT and the consultants, how it kind of helped me is the breast care nurses actually came up to see me in the office because I don't work down there with them. We have sort of all the coordinators together. They came up and watched me use Somerset and how we input things and what we need it for and the key things that we need. So now I actually can ring them and they can ring me and vice versa for different things. And when I explain something, they know what I'm talking about because they've seen it themselves.
Right.
They then sort of pass that on to the clinicians and they know even sort of when it's turned metastatic, the consultants will say, can you switch that tab from symptomatic to metastatic? So they do have quite a good understanding of it from where I am anyway. Okay. So I don't know if that could be implemented in other places.
So I'm hearing is you're training them. No, seriously. You're educating them so you can talk more effectively.
Yeah.
Fab. So that's within your ken to actually help educate others. And I'm sure that would be music to your ears. So, yeah, absolutely, because be quite sure this is your role, this is what you know inside out. You're the experts in this, not necessarily them. So, yeah, thank you. Right, table at the back.
The only problems we had were from Carmela at CCC. We think we've got good teams.
Yeah,
CCC.
well, mainly it's Meditech and Somerset, and they just will. I've been with them for over 5 years, and they will not track on Somerset. We have to do it on spreadsheets. So I get spreadsheets and dashboards every day. So I feel like I'm doing a different role from other people. Yeah.
Okay. And that is something I can see somebody scribbling here from, yeah, absolutely. And it's not something we're going to solve here because that was set up years ago in Clatterby. I can remember that. And you could see it being a train wreck coming in the future. So I'm not, yeah, sorry. Yeah, we're not going to solve that one today, believe me. Anything else from that table? Was that? Yeah, okay. Right.
Get it all out.
Yeah, back table. Some of the themes that you've been talking about.
So one of them is the problems, management and clinical staff. So you've got management breathing down your neck about the pathways, but then you've got clinical staff like clinicians just thinking that you focus on MDTs only.
Yeah.
But knowing that you literally, again, you're the ping pong ball and you're trying to you don't just do the pathways, you don't just do MDTs, is letting them know, have an understanding of our roles and signposting again if that's not within your role. But I still think I'll struggle with that.
Why?
Because he give you the eyes.
Okay.
No. But I don't know, because I feel like because we're such a small team.
Yeah.
It's very hard to signpost to someone, especially if you haven't got a cancer manager.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to say to you is this one. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? So you've got the knowledge, but I'm going to ask you, and I'm hearing some obstructing,
Yeah.
but I'm actually saying, who holds the power and who cares and who can help you? I'll leave it with that. So what I'm saying to you is, this sounds like a bigger problem than your team can deal with, because as you just said, you're a small team. But so the challenge to you is, who can help you?
Yeah.
Right? Who do you need to go to? Who are the levers in your organisation? It might not necessarily be who you think it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you understand the problem, yeah, or the issues,
Yeah.
but who can help you? So I'm just going to leave that one with you because only you know that.
Yeah.
It might need a bit of digging. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I'll leave you with that just for now. Thank you. Is that okay? That covers more or less what you were talked about on the table. And finally, this table.
These guys
Oh,
are Alliance.
They're ours.
You got any questions, guys?
No, they're just here for the free lunch. Sorry, I'm being rude. I'm sorry.
Not saying no, though.
No, they didn't. No, they're not. I'm sorry, that's really rude of me. They'll get me later. Sorry, go ahead.
We
Kim.
talked about just one specific scenario on Somerset around if something comes in and it turns out that it's been referred in, but it's actually a metastasis of something else and the process around that. But something just struck me, the table over there that said you had really good teams and were really good, really lucky. Is there anything about, is it like the culture of the teams are really good in that they engage and they view you as peers? Is it that there are good processes? Is there anything we could pin down around what works, where it does work really well?
I think for us, because there's lots of coordinators, I know personally as a coordinator, I know what my job role is and what I can pass to management, and we've got quite a good management team. So I think no one's under that pressure of, oh, this is my responsibility, because we know who to escalate things to. So I'm not stressing over anything.
What you've really articulated, that is, you know what your role is.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stress not knowing what you're meant to be doing as well. Or people asking you to do stuff that's not in your bag, not in your remit. Which is why I'm saying, can you articulate very clearly what your role is, what the responsibilities are, and what they're asking you for, and whose responsibility is it?
Escalating. I think if you know who to escalate to, that's perfect. And we do it in Clatterbridge. Within haematology, I know exactly who I escalate to. If I want a 24-day patient to be treated within that 24, the treatment to be done before that 24-day, it will get done.
I'm not hearing the same with the team.
No.
So, leave that one with you.
Yeah, and it depends on how far you're prepared, how confident you are to push what you need to do, and you're not frightened of going to the top of management.
Absolutely.
And what they're going to think of you for doing what you've done.
Yeah, but if it's in you anyway, right. Listen, thank you. That was a really. Hopefully, you found that helpful. Just have. I know it was a dip in, but it's actually some of the themes coming through. Hopefully, that was helpful. Right. So over to you, sir. Yeah, you're up. So we've now got Paul coming back again, and. I'm surprised he hasn't had enough now, but he hasn't. So you're going to talk about location matters, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, right, go for it.
See. Okay.
Yep, okay.
Which one it is? Hello again. Okay. So.
Make sure you're right into the
Okay. Could you not hear me last time?
a little bit quieter.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is kind of like different talks than what I normally do. So it's a bit experimental. I'd be interested in your feedback. I haven't done something like this before, so I'm also a little bit stressing about it. But, yeah, location matters. So effectively, the title is just a way of getting two very separate things into one talk. If I can get a third one, I will call it location, location, location. But the first thing is literally one slide, and it's, like I say, they're very different things. The first thing is when you're recording on your Somerset systems or whatever system, the ICD-10 code. I appreciate it's very easy sometimes to put C50.9, C18.9, I don't know, whatever, 34.9. But what we're actually seeing now, and what's going to be really, really important going forward, is that the very specific location of that tumour can have massively different consequences on patients. And I've just put a few, not fit to the right slide, just put a few of the things that are either proven or are theories that are in the pipeline at the moment that people are researching that are